Yeshua, Jesus, since we're right in the middle of his celebration. Just think of the energy of Jesus for a moment. The ones that the ones that you were taught when you were younger. Calm, peaceful, healing, walking on water, as I proved today anyone can do. Halo above the head. It long hair, beard, yes. Sandals, robe, yes, absolutely. Sheep, no sheep. My dear friends, as humorous as it might be, this is the image that you had. Now, the real Yeshua, the most impatient human I had ever met. Absolutely, totally impatient. Had no patience for stupidity, for rules, hated organizations, didn't like time, didn't like dawdlers. Why? Because underneath, even though he was not a soul being, he brought in so many of the aspects or the energies of you. And impatience, let's get on with this. He was known to brawl. Boo, punch, right in the face, down on the ground, brawling. This isn't in the Bible, is it? It wouldn't do them very good, they thought, to put this in. He liked to eat a lot. He got a little pudgy later on. He got a little thing going. He was known to cuss and swear. There were a lot of people that were afraid of him. He was a rebel, a revolutionary, and he was intolerant. A loving being, totally compassionate, but absolutely impatient. It's not the nice portrait picture that you have of him, but this is what many aspire to be. I have to be, what would Jesus say? Jesus would say, get the fuck out of my way. Sorry. And I apologize for being so irreverent, but it is...
No, you don't.
It is true. It's like, move aside. We've got work to do. We're here to see this earth with the Christ consciousness, the Christos, the crystal consciousness for a new age that's coming about. Move on with it. Move on. Get off to some other planet. Go someplace else, because this is a place where we're growing and expanding. So he was quite a revolutionary. And no, they didn't write about that, because then what would happen? Everybody would try to be a revolutionary, and right, the organizations, which I don't like, couldn't handle that. Think about dear Buddha for a moment. Dear Buddha. I was talking to him the other day, as a matter of fact. Not to drop names or anything, but Buddha, I said, Buddha, we've got work to do. Buddha was neurotic, phobic. He had phobias, a lot of phobias. There were certain types of insects and bugs he was just deathly afraid of. He was neurotic. He was always having to clean his hands and his feet all the time. He was very selfish in the bad meaning of the word selfish. He stole energy from everybody. Oh, here comes Buddha. Get out of the way. He's going to try to steal energy. And he could never settle into anything. And he'd chosen a nice rich family to be born into. He couldn't settle into that. He had demons going after him all the time. He was perhaps what you call multiple personality, flipping back and forth, as a lot of the neurotic people do. 1 minute holy man, next minute total jerk. And he would be offended if there were certain things you were wearing or certain odors coming from your body. So He was very difficult to get along with. Later on, he chilled. He relaxed a little bit. He had this neurotic obsession for enlightenment and just starved himself to death to get it. Actually, he starved because he was phobic about a lot of foods. He just wouldn't eat them. If anybody even looked at a food that he was going to eat, he couldn't eat it. So he was, and finally he relaxed. He gave up trying to find himself, trying to get to know himself. He relaxed. That's when he started eating. He gained some weight, and he finally had the enlightenment that he'd always wanted. He melded with himself. So, Guru, is that the picture that was painted? Is that what you see when you go to the sacred temples? No, you see the very peaceful Buddha. But he wasn't. And not that this next one is an ascended master, but he's an interesting study. Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, somebody from your era, brilliant, driven, totally insecure, absolutely insecure. 1 minute very obsessed about what the project he was working on. And the real project actually was technology tools to expand consciousness, interconnectivity to share, to actually expand the consciousness of humanity. That was kind of implanted in him. Brilliant ideas. He was a visionary who had this mental creative melding a long time ago, but totally insecure. Always questioning. Got tiring after a while. Am I doing the right thing? Am I going the right way? Should I have done it this way or that way? Wasted a lot of energy, doubting, worrying all the time. So dear friends, here's another one. Just happened to be taking a walk with the other day. St. John the Baptist. Crazy man. He was a lunatic. Another good example of a multiple personality. 1 minute screaming and yelling to get the demons out of people, pushing their heads underwater. He used to drown people. It wasn't baptism. It was called murder. Later, they changed it and said he was baptizing. I was like, no, he's trying to kill that bastard. And the next minute, very pious, reverent, asking God for forgiveness. Well, I would have too if I'd have done all that bad stuff. Down on his knees. He was a madman. His hair was a mess. His beard was filled with food from years ago. He didn't bathe himself. He and Buddha would have never gotten along. Would have had a hard time together. So let's bring this to the point so we can get to questions and answers. The Guru Dilemma. Your dilemma. Who do you aspire to be like? Any of them? Or yes? Or yes. In other words, they had human characteristics because they're here on earth as humans. They have what you would call flaws, but they're actually not. They're just idiosyncrasies. And so do you. You've been trying to get to know yourself and perfect yourself, make yourself just this pure, holier-than-thou human. They didn't do it. Why should you? They had disturbances, issues, challenges. What eventually caused them to be ascended masters? Acceptance, let go. Everybody should get an award. I don't know if Linda brought enough, but they let go. They let go of this need to try to define themselves, to find themselves, to know themselves, to improve and perfect themselves. They came to a point of exhaustion. Anybody feel a little connected to that? A point of exhaustion of saying this search, this desperate search is exhausting. I'm just going to give up. To hell with this whole spiritual path and all of its books and all of its workshops and all of its accoutrements and everything else. To hell with that. I'm done. I'm done. In that moment of acceptance, then it came together. And they had a good laugh, every one of them. And then it didn't matter. It didn't matter that they weren't perfect, because they were never going to be. It mattered that they accepted. It mattered that they loved themselves, quirks and all. Bad bank accounts, overweight, stupid little tics or strange things you do, your bad temper, your impatience, your lack of your lack of, Calder messed up my timing, your lack of real understanding of the spiritual being that you are. You get over all that. You go into a place of acceptance. You could say it's surrender, but it's only surrendering to you. It's not surrendering to anyone else or anything else. It's not surrendering to the guy that's on the cross. Too bad that they put him there. It's surrendering to you. So let's take a deep breath with that. Whatever you think is flawed, imperfect, whatever you think are the things you have to work on, forget about it. Yes. And then suddenly you're just being. You're not trying to perfect anything. You're not trying to find yourself. Now you're just being. In that, the creative energies that we talked about earlier rush in now. Good. This person's no longer just trying to figure it out. They're just doing it. The creative energies rush in. The mind can slow down. The need to try to make things right or perfect or in some sort of delusional ideals of old gurus goes out the window. And that's when you can sit here today and say, I am the master. I don't care what they say. I am the master. I am the master. It's that simple. That simple. But then the mind jumps in, and it will by the time you leave this parking lot saying, well, if you're the master, then you can walk on water also. Piece of cake. Piece of cake. So don't get caught in all of those things that the masters would have done, because it's all a bunch of stories. The masters finally loved themselves. So with that,